Welcome. I'm excited today to talk to you about effective speaking and communication. This is going to be a highly interactive workshop. You're going to have the opportunity to talk to the people next to you and to stand up and practice a few things. I believe that the way we become effective communicators is by actually communicating. So let's get started right away. I'm going to ask each of you to read this sentence, and as you read this sentence, count the number of F's. Now please keep it to yourself and don't share with your neighbors. We're only going to take just a few seconds here. 3, 2, 1. How many counted 3 and only 3 F's? Most of us. How about 4? How many counted 5? How many counted 6 F's? Well, 6 F's is correct. I'm going to leave this up just a minute so you can copy it and carry it home and torment your friends and family with it. What 2-letter word did most of us miss? Of. I shared this with you because this is the perfect example of what we'll be talking about today. It's the little things that make the big difference in being effective. Our agenda is simple. In order to be an effective communicator, we must manage our anxiety. So let's get started talking about anxiety management. 85% of the people say that they're nervous when they speak in public. A recent study by Chapman University asked Americans, what do you fear the most? And of the top 5 things named, number 1 was being caught in a terrorist attack, number 2 was having our identity stolen, and number 5 was public speaking. I'm going to look on page 2 of your handout. And it refers to the fear of public speaking. And it says, it's a fear that we can learn to manage. We don't need to overcome it because anxiety can help us be prepared. Now let's talk about that statement. Do you agree or disagree? Okay, why? Gives us energy? Good. Helps us focus? Yes. It tells us that what we're doing is important. So I agree. We don't need to overcome it. We just need to learn to manage it. Author Matt Abrams, in his book, Speaking Up Without Freaking Out, lists several techniques on how to manage our anxiety. Now what we're going to do is we're going to talk about a couple of these techniques today. But before I get started, let me ask you, how does it feel when you're sitting in an audience and you're listening to a nervous speaker? Just shout it out. I heard uncomfortable. It feels awkward. So what do? We smile, we nod our head, or we just totally disengage. So a nervous speaker looking out at an audience and seeing a bunch of people nodding and smiling, it doesn't help. That's why it's important that we get our anxiety under control. Now the first technique that we're going to talk about, it's about those feelings that happen when you first begin to feel the anxiety symptoms. This happens in those initial moments when you first start speaking. Your stomach starts getting queasy, your legs start to shake, and you begin to perspire. And you think, uh-oh, I'm feeling nervous. They're going to know that I'm nervous. And then it just starts spiraling out of control. Now, research on mindful attention tells us that if we simply greet our anxiety, we can actually reduce the anxiety that we're feeling. You can't actually stop it, but you can stem the tide of the anxiety. You just say, hey, this is me feeling nervous. I'm about to do something important. And then you embrace the fact that it's natural, it's normal to be nervous. Heck, 85% of the people say they feel that way. So by actually acknowledging and greeting your anxiety, you can stem the tide of your anxiety and stop it from spinning out of control. In addition to this approach, remaining in the moment is another method that works very well. Most of us, when we speak, we're worried about future consequences. Students are worried about what grade they'll get. Professors are worried about getting funding. Speakers are worried about getting another invitation. So we focus on those future consequences, and then our anxiety just starts running out of control. But if we can get ourselves in the present moment, instead of worrying about those future consequences, we can control our anxiety. Now, there's a lot of different ways to be in the present moment. I heard of a speaker who speaks in front of thousands of people. He gets paid $10,000 an hour. Now, that's a pretty good gig. But he gets very nervous. So backstage, before he begins his speech, he'll do 100 push-ups. Now, you can't be that physically active and not be in the present moment. I'm certainly not recommending that we all do that. He begins his speeches out of breath and sweaty, but there are other ways to be in the present moment. Athletes listen to music before a big game. They'll focus on a particular song or a playlist, and that helps them remain in the present moment. You can do something tough like count from 100 backwards by a hard number like 17. I'm going to pause a minute because I see some of you tried. It gets harder after the second or third number. My favorite way to be in the present moment is to say a tongue twister. You can't say a tongue twister correctly without focusing on the words and being in the present moment. A tongue twister also has another added benefit. It helps you warm up your voice. Many nervous speakers will begin their speech without ever warming up their voice. Instead, they're focusing on all those initial things that make you so nervous. Now, I told you that today would be a highly interactive workshop, so I'm going to ask you to repeat my favorite tongue twister after me. Now, I like this tongue twister because if you say it wrong, you'll say a naughty word. So I'm going to be listening very closely to see if I hear any of you saying that naughty word. Now, repeat after me. It's only 3 lines. I slit a sheet I slit, and on that slitted sheet I sit. Okay, very good. No one said the naughty word. Excellent. Now, in that moment, you weren't worried that you're in front of all these people. You were so focused on saying it correctly and trying to figure out what the naughty word was that you were in the present moment. So that's how easy it is. We can manage our anxiety just by simply greeting our anxiety when we begin to feel those signs, and we can do it by remaining in the present moment. Now, later today, I'm going to introduce you to several additional resources. They will be available for you to acquire to help you achieve your professional and personal best.